The guillotine was not the worst thing they did to Marie Antoinette. In truth, it was the final act of mercy. What she endured in the 76 days before the blade fell was a masterclass in psychological dismantling. Her captors realized they couldn't break a queen with mere execution, so they chose a weapon far more intimate and far more devastating. Her story begins not in a dungeon, but with a mother's protective hand on the chest of her sleeping 8-year-old son. This is the tale of the Temple Prison's most famous captive, a narrative of systematic humiliation designed to erase not just a monarch, but the very soul within. I will take you inside those stone walls, to the moments history often skips over. And what you will discover is that the true horror was not the death sentence, but the slow, calculated erasure that came before it. First, we must understand the target. The woman imprisoned in 1793 was not the frivolous Madame Deficit of revolutionary pamphlets. She was Marie Antoinette, the Austrian-born Queen of France, who arrived at court as a teenage pawn in a political alliance. Despised for her foreignness, mocked for her accent, and isolated in a loveless marriage, her early life was one of profound loneliness. The extravagant parties and lavish gowns were not signs of arrogance, but the armor of a young woman desperately seeking an escape. By the time the revolution's fury reached its peak, she had already lost her eldest son to illness and watched her husband, Louis XVI, be executed. The woman who entered the Temple prison was a grieving widow and a fiercely protective mother of her 2 remaining children. The revolutionaries held her crown, her freedom, and her husband's life. But they were about to discover the one thing she had left to lose. The Temple was no ordinary jail. A medieval fortress, its damp, dark towers were meant to crush spirit long before body. Initially, the family was kept together, but the guards were observers, noting every flinch, every tear. They saw a queen who could withstand personal insult, but who shattered at any slight against her children. This was her vulnerability, and they decided to exploit it with surgical precision. The assault began with subtle cruelties. Her access to her son, Louis Charles, and daughter, Marie-Therese, was restricted. Guards were placed inside their living quarters, a constant, staring presence. Private conversations in her native German were forbidden. Every maternal instinct was monitored, reported, and controlled. Her hair began to turn white from the strain. But she endured, because she still had them. Then came the night of July 3rd, 1793. A sound of boots on stone, climbing the tower stairs. 6 guards entered her room, holding an order from the Committee of Public Safety. They had come for her 8-year-old son. What followed was not a queen's protest, but a lioness's roar. For a solid hour, she became pure primal defiance. She barricaded the door with her own body. She screamed until her voice was raw, begging them to take her instead. Her daughter later wrote of the animalistic terror of that struggle. But this was no crime of passion. It was a cold, premeditated strike. They weren't just taking a royal heir. They were taking the core of her identity. And they had a specific man ready to warp the boy into a weapon against her. The man was Antoine Simon, a shoemaker and radical revolutionary. His mission was to re-educate the young Louis Charles. The methods were simple and brutal: isolation in a dark room, for singing of revolutionary songs, beatings, and starvation. He was taught to curse his mother, to accuse her of monstrous things. Within weeks, the child's spirit was broken, his mind molded into a vessel for lies. Back in the Temple, Marie Antoinette, now separated from her son, lived in an agony of imagination. She knew he was suffering. She could do nothing. And the worst was yet to come. On August 1st, she was awoken at 2 a.m. and transferred to the Conciergerie. This was the antechamber to the guillotine. Here, she was stripped of her name and given a number, Prisoner 280. Her new cell was a damp, tiny space. But the central torture was a perverse illusion, a privacy screen. She was given this screen while two armed guards remained in the cell at all times, watching her. They watched her eat, sleep, pray, and attend to her most private needs. This constant, unblinking surveillance was designed to obliterate her last shred of dignity. Historical accounts note she became a ghost of herself, sitting motionless for hours. Yet at night, the guards heard her whisper her son's name. Her health failed. She bled. Her white hair fell out. She was 37, but appeared decades older. The final psychological blow came during her trial in October. After 2 days of refuting charges of treason with astonishing composure, the prosecutor played his ultimate card. He introduced an accusation sourced from her own son, Louis Charles. The boy, under Simon's coercion, had been forced to claim his mother had committed incest with him. In that stunned courtroom, Marie Antoinette's regal composure finally broke. She stood and turned not to the judges, but to the mothers in the gallery. "I appeal to all the mothers here," she cried, her voice cracking with a raw emotion never before heard. "If there is one among you who would not shudder at such a charge—" For a moment, the revolutionary fury wavered. She had transcended the script of her trial, speaking not as a queen, but as a universal mother. It was her most powerful moment, and it changed nothing. The sentence was death. In the face of absolute degradation, she chose grace. In her final hours, she was given pen and paper. She wrote not a political testament, but a heartfelt letter to her sister-in-law, pleading for her children's care and forgiving her enemies. This letter, a masterpiece of maternal love, was intercepted by her jailers. It would not be read by its intended recipient for decades. Her last words to her family vanished into a file. On October 16, 1793, the ritual of erasure was completed. Her mourning dress was taken, replaced with a plain white shift. Her white hair was crudely hacked off. Her hands were bound tightly behind her back. She was paraded through Paris in an open cart for over an hour, subjected to the jeers of the crowd. Yet, on the scaffold, as she mounted the platform, she accidentally stepped on the executioner's foot. Her final words were an apology. "Pardon me, sir. I did not do it on purpose." They tried to destroy the symbol, but accidentally revealed the human. For 76 days, they used every tool of psychological warfare to break her. They weaponized a mother's love. They stripped her of name, privacy, and dignity. But in that final, absurd apology, she reclaimed her humanity. The guillotine ended her life, but it was the preceding torment that truly defined her tragedy. History remembers the beheaded queen, but we should remember the mother who was broken long before the blade fell. If this journey into the heart of historical darkness resonated with you, please give this video a like. It truly helps our channel, Winds of Thought, to grow. We explore the forgotten human stories behind the history books every week. Let us know in the comments, after hearing this account, do you see her final moments as a defeat or as a profound, silent victory?